Okay, we're here. We're ready. It's nice out, so we want to get done. Or, I'm speaking for myself.
It is nice outside, though.
It's very nice. Okay, so looking at our lives from before and after with technology. Anyone want to start?
I can kick us off.
Great.
So just starting with this first main subcategory, troubleshoot basic software, demonstrate adaptability in the face of fast-paced technological changes. I keep going back to the work that we do with StarRes and even the changes that have happened within the software from when we got here to what we're doing with it now. Um, you know, we can do a whole host of different things with this technology, ranging from obviously occupancy related stuff, room moves. This past year, we started also logging all of our packages and whatnot through StarRes as well, which isn't something that I had ever done before. Um, but apparently, there's also literature on StarRes because enough housing professionals have gotten salty enough to write articles and whatnot, and to get that on some academic radars. But remaining current on a lot of that stuff is really helpful for. Yeah, I'm sure I can speak for you as well, Logan. Being able to actually do this stuff in our actual practice.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more like institutions use it than I was actually like aware of. And I mean it's kind of also like Maxiant in the sense a lot of schools use Maxiant as like their online kind of like conduct management type of system, and they have like conferences about StarRes and about Maxiant, and like you said, there's usually like an article or two that they have. I think I saw one not too long ago on like the Chronicle where they had a couple on it, and then there was a couple other like student affairs type um, journal articles out there about it. Um,
There's the yearly Max Fest as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. This whole conference dedicated to folks who use Maxiant to get together, have a good time, learn some best practices and whatnot using the software. And they give out free cookies to member groups. We didn't get any cookies.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess for me in my role, I mean I obviously use being sort of the OrgSync guru in our office. I use technology all the time, and my growth in like with OrgSync from the time I got here, the time I'm now is, I mean, it's like not even close. I mean, coming in, I really didn't know how to use the software. I went to OrgSync Connect in Dallas my first summer as a grad, and basically got a crash course in how to use it, and yeah, just sort of sort of keeping up on like adaptability in the face of change. Like there's constantly change happening, and now as I'm leaving, trying to help Amy out as we like think of in June here, they're going to be completely launching a new platform for OrgSync that's going to be nothing like what it is right now. So,
oh wow,
trying to sort of see what that's going to mean and how that's going to change, and then even just like just basic things, even in the academic side of the house, like what we use for presentations now, like coming in, like I never had used Prezi, like now that's all I really use. So just the change both professionally and in the classroom.
I agree with all of that jazz. No, I don't use OrgSync as much as you do, Darren, but for like the service stuff, we do use OrgSync, and it's pretty user friendly. But now that it's going to change, I don't know what that means for the volunteer portals / everything, really.
Volunteer portal part of it's probably not going to really exist anymore.
Right, which will be interesting. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see the change for our office being here and seeing Amy. I mean, I probably will maybe be integrated. I don't know what that's going to be like. But the college, is it called College Labs?
It's going to be called it's going to be
Org Labs.
no Collegiate Link Connect.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, that's too long.
Or no, that's wrong. No, Campus Labs Engage. Sorry, there's like so many different.
There's 3 words for it? Campus Lab.
Campus Labs Engage is the name of the new software. So most people just call it Engage.
Got it.
Is
Okay. That'll be interesting to see, to watch.
It's going to look a lot more like a website, like a browser, rather than a like software.
Got it.
So it's going to look more like students aren't going to have to log in using their W number on OrgSync to be able to see this like the basic content. They'll just be able to go to
Engage.
The website for River Falls, the OrgSync website, and they'll be able to see that basic content. But then once they log in, then that will get them to their
personal feed.
Their personal portals, like all that stuff.
Interesting.
But they'll be able to see the overarching like stuff for the whole community just from this going to a website.
That's cool.
It's kind of neat.
It would really help in overhauling the current campus calendar program as well. Right now, if you were to go to the website and take a peek at the campus events, you might see some of the stuff, but I mean, it doesn't have nearly all of the things from academic departments, even individual student orgs. I only recently learned that you could click a button that says request inclusion on the campus calendars little box in OrgSync when you make events, which would have been super helpful to know about, even last year.
Yeah,
it's like that excites me to see where that'll eventually go.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about like engagement too, and just like getting like students to participate more in like polls and what have you. Like if that's one less thing that they have to like log into. Like I mean, it sounds silly. Like it doesn't take much to log into something, but I mean like, as you know, all of you are probably aware, like getting students to fill out like surveys or getting them to vote in like polls for different like events or things, it's a pain in the butt.
Totally.
And oftentimes like students, either they never go on to OrgSync or FalconSync, or they don't have an account.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to send out links to it, and then they're just like, oh, I don't want to fill this out. It's going to take me a long time, kind of a thing. So it's if that's one less step that's needed for people to get to like basic content, that might be advantageous.
I think it's interesting too because when I was a student, our goal was to make OrgSync the new Facebook on our campus, which we quickly realized does not work, and so we canned that vision and like used it internally, which is super helpful for like student orgs and every management,
right.
But shied away from using it as a tool to direct students because it's too confusing and people don't know how to use it. But I think it'll be interesting to see this new platform and see how that is integrated. Because I know, like, or Priscilla was saying in Res Life, like, that's kind of the use Falcon saying don't use a Facebook page. Like, kind of the mentality or maybe the vision, which I don't think is bad. I just know that students, at least in our lives, don't use it. Don't use it as that way. And, like, we need to...
Well, you're preaching.
Totally. Yeah. Like, we got to bring the technology, what students are using. And maybe it's not even Facebook anymore. Maybe it is Snapchat. But, like, you kind of have to have some record. So maybe Facebook, like, that goes away. Where it's like, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how we utilize this new software, or if it's more just going to be internally again, which again, I don't think it's bad because it does manage a lot of things behind the scenes that need to happen.
I'm interested in how OrgSync is used, especially given the changes in our office and changes to Falcon 5, whether that exists in any format or not.
Right.
Likely probably isn't going to exist. So like how OrgSync is really used, like Falcon 5 is the main way it's one of the main ways
student
it's
orgs,
used.
like their money.
Yeah. So student orgs it's used a lot, but Falcon 5 is really the way that OrgSync connects to the campus community the most, like all the students. That's the way they use it.
Well, they track. I mean. Yeah.
So, but then like the Senate elections are all done through
this platform. Yeah.
OrgSync. I spent half my day helping them out today with that. So.
Forms. I mean, forms are very useful on it. Obviously, you could do a Google form, but it is kind of nice.
It's a little bit more
advanced.
that and secure as
Yeah.
well. So that sort of goes into like data use and compliance. One of the things I thought of when I was reading through this was just the advancement of understanding who has access to information and how they have access to information. So, for example, like part of like my job working with student orgs, I have lists of all the presidents, vice presidents, treasurers of all the student orgs, and I'm constantly being asked by departments, by students, by everybody for those lists to be able to send out surveys or whatever to student orgs, and there's a really fine line that I've learned in like the legal side and the ethical side of using digital information in being like, okay, yes, like career services wants to use this information to send out a survey, but like we didn't gather this information from student org leaders to farm out their information to other people to be able to just send them information or send them surveys. So understanding the balance of when, okay, yeah, like this is important and we need to get that out to everybody, or when you're like, yeah, this is important, but you know that's really not the reason we gathered this information.
Mm-hmm.
So then do you tell them to gather it themselves because it's accessible to the public?
Sometimes I'll provide it to them under the stipulation that it's like you're using it for this purpose,
Yeah.
and I expect that once you use it for this purpose, you destroy it and you don't use it again without coming back to us and asking for that information again.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You have to come back and ask for it. You can't just have that on your records and just be sending out stuff to
Totally.
them all the time. Students, a lot of times, I will be like, no, I can't give you as a student other students' information. But if you want to go and gather it off Falcon Sync, like it's public information, you can find it. But I'm not going to provide you with a spreadsheet coming out of our office
Totally.
to you as a student to be able to just email somebody.
Well, because I remember what was that company, that butter?
Yeah,
Or like the
Give
honey,
Butter.
Give Butter? I don't know. I like want to believe they're real people. But these like people sent an email to every single student, every single vice president, every single advisor from OrgSync, and we didn't give it to them.
Yeah, and
So they said they're college students who like created this way for student orgs to fundraise, and they had like a website that was pretty legit, but it seems like they're reaching out to every school in the world where they could find information. But it was like we had to make a statement
yeah.
from our office that's like, hey,
we didn't
we
give
didn't
this-
endorse this. Feel free to use it if you want, but like, we don't know who these people are.
Mm-hmm.
They seem like real people. I like to believe they're real people, but like, they could have been a huge scam. But I was like, that took some time for them to like go
Yeah,
through
because
every
they had to
page.
go in and gather all that information.
Or they've got some sort of macro program that does it for them. It's
Hackers.
one person.
I don't
in
know.
office.
The people seemed real on their website. It was like cool
They always do.
and hip, and they were looking for Snapchat like interns. I mean, it seemed like pretty low grassroots. But still, I was like, wow, that's commitment. They're like
Mhm.
reaching out to every single person. Anyway, that's interesting.
Just out of curiosity, Darren, have you had conversations with individual students who may ask you about, maybe there are people that ask you for those lists, maybe there are other students who just hear about this and want to learn more about it. Do you ever have any conversations with folks about the developmental implications for that as well? So I can see there being some repercussions, usually negative repercussions, for mass sending out information like that, which you don't, which I'm glad about, in how students can engage with their campus community if they don't really fully buy into it because they think people are trying to take advantage of them or get them to do stuff.
I can't say I've ever had the conversation about like why we do this or like
Right.
more that way. I think most of the time when you explain, like, you know, when we created these student orgs and created these Falcon Sync pages, like, it was created for our records within our department for us to be able to manage these student orgs.
Mhm.
And so in no way did we ever say that this was going to be used in any other manner. So we have to, as far as an ethical use of their information, like
Mhm.
we have to stick with what we gathered it for
Right.
originally, and that was to be able to manage our student org.
So it usually just sticks with the privacy
Yeah,
sort of
or the
conversation.
privacy conversation.
I wonder though too, because like thinking of lacrosse and the amount of emails we get
Mhm.
to everyone
And some
from
of those even come from students, who are
right, where
doing,
they like have access to this listserv, or there's like maybe some sort of form, I'm sure, where they fill out what they're doing and why.
Mhm.
But like that piece, I wonder if there'd be more conversations in that regard from lacrosse.
I mean, student guides or like student directories are given out to every student.
Totally, where
so,
it's like, you can look
that's
up
like
online.
public knowledge. But I mean, like, yeah, like I mean, I think the thing that like would raise my alarms is if like actual information about like a student's like educational record or something
Right.
would be given out. I mean, that would violate all sorts
think
of
that
FERPA
goes-
laws.
FERPA alert.
That
Sorry.
also goes to, like, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of times, like, my job and Amy's job and different people's in our department and other departments would be a lot easier if we just gave admin access to people
Everyone,
and
yeah.
let them do what they needed to do. But I think that goes to exactly what you're saying about, like, the access that, like, people like myself who's an admin can have to view
Yeah.
everybody's information. And while I trust that everybody in our office is going to use it in the right way,
Mhm.
it's there's real danger in giving people that amount of too many
Power.
people that amount of power and that much access to information.
For sure. I mean, even in those emails that we get from UW Lacrosse, I can't even tell you how many requests I've gotten to participate in
A survey.
Psych 410
Yeah.
statistical measurements courses. Like, if personally identifiable information was being used to narrow down, who exactly gets sent those sorts of surveys, I think there would be developmentally more concerning conversations that would need to happen. But to, like you said, Logan, just pull that off of the existing databases that everybody has, especially with Outlook. Outlook
Yeah.
makes it incredibly easy.
To look up everyone.
All you gotta, I mean, just when you click on the to or the CC buttons, if you pull up a random number generator, let's say your survey only needs to reach, let's say 100 people, you can literally just plug in or click the random number generator 100 times and pull up all of the people in that particular area of the list.
Do you think it gets sent to everyone though? I feel
No.
like you don't. I feel like it's a listserv where it's like UW.
So
I don't-
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Having been a part of the undergraduate capstone experience at UW Lacrosse, their faculty are pretty good about making sure that they tell their students, under no uncertain terms are you to send this to the entire student body.
Well, then shoot, the amount that I get is crazy.
Yeah, you're selected. It's a random selection, but you're selected.
The last one said, "I'm begging you," in the subject line,
Yeah,
because I don't think they use a lot of
No,
return.
I mean the from. And maybe you had a similar experience in your capstone at UW Stevens Point, but rates of return on senior seminars, senior capstones, and undergrad are hard.
Yeah.
Well, it's just the sheer amount. If I got one or like maybe two, maybe I'd be more apt to do it. Probably not actually in my life because I'm not connected to the school.
Hmm.
But like
Right.
I've probably gotten, I could count the delete that I do, and it's maybe
right.
like 30 a semester. That's a little excessive.
If you think about all of the different departments and all of the senior sems, though, it makes sense, mathematically.
I know, but I feel like there should be a better way to conduct their research.
Well, and I was gonna comment and say that like, yeah, they don't have access to like emailing every single student. Like, I mean, that's something that only
Right.
like senior level management would have, or say like a director of a department or something like that, or say like a professional like us if we're using certain software like Maxion or Falcon Sync or whatever. Um, but I think like there's also like rules to that too. Like, I mean, they have to get permission to, or at least they're supposed to.
To
Like,
send
there's,
out an
there's
email.
there's a bunch of like laws
IRB,
that goes
yeah.
with research and what have you. So even though like, and I think that's where like the ethics part comes into it too. Like within our roles as professionals, is that yeah, we have all this great technology to better access records of like students and what's
Right.
going on in their lives, but it's with that access comes responsibility, and it's
Mm-hmm.
being able to take a look at it and be like, yeah, I can look at this student's GPA and know where they're from and everything, but I can't give this information to
Right.
anyone else under any circumstances.
Right.
Yeah, we are.
So I think that's part of the growth, is kind of just understanding what that access entails, and that it is a privilege, and that you're responsible for how you use said technology.
Yeah, we were having a sort of a similar conversation to this. Well, not exactly, but made me think of it at lunch. It was like about the importance of confidentiality and being able to zip it and not say anything at times. And like, I feel like that's really important, especially as we move into our professional career, when we'll probably be working on things with data or conduct or whatever that might be, and knowing things about students that like we really don't have any right to share, and
Yeah.
being able to understand that, well, that maybe puts especially under certain circumstances, puts a big weight on our shoulders of having to not tell anybody. Like, that's really our responsibility to not tell anybody, and
For sure. I think I see that too
Excuse me.
in the sorts and types and frequency of information that we put on things, even like a share drive. e- Sensitive information is sensitive regardless of what medium you use. So I think professionals in higher ed can also get into trouble when they're not effectively locking down some of that information from other people being able to observe it. I joke with Logan all the time about the 9 of us being phased out of our own share drive folders, but I think it's a demonstration of good data use. I don't see any particular competency section related to that, but just in holding with what you're saying, Darren, with the privacy piece, there's no real reason why Chris would need to know who is being selected for X, Y, or Z position, or what specific notes on personnel or
Right.
conduct related things are being put out there. So not only not physically disclosing the information, but also not being lackadaisical in our records of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that ties into, because I know the next section is digital identity and citizenship, and I think that ties into just I mean, we've been talking about this in our technology class, like what does it mean to be digitally engaged, and what does it mean to have digital identity? And I know in one of the videos that Adele shared of that guy from, was it ACPA, he talked about students' perceptions of what it means to have a digital life versus what it means to have an offline life. And there is, for some people, it's changing outfits, where people have different outfits depending on the context of what the conversation is, what they're engaged in, what have you. And then for other people, they're two separate parallels.
Worlds, yeah.
And then for some people, they're one and the same. So I think kind of relating to that, it's how how do we work with students to not to work with them, to encourage them to be digitally active, because I think it's important that they are, because that's the world we're living in. But then at the same time, not, because I think sometimes when older people talk to like younger people about like being digitally active, they're just like, just be careful what you post online, or kind of just that whole what is it called? I'm blanking on what the term is. Just like that
Adult normative.
Yeah, there it is. Adult normative. So that kind of like
Nailed it.
that whole mentality that like, oh, this is what young people are doing. They're just posting all these things. They don't understand the importance of
Totally.
what they're doing. But it's not true, and that's not reaching our students at their level. That's creating that gap between us
Right.
and the students.
I always agree with both and, because like, yes, we need to be real about what you're gonna be, but on a hiring side of things,
Mhm.
like if there is open information and you see some, like, anyway, I used to work at a camp, and the first thing we would do is look on their Facebook, and there was some crazy shit. Like, I'm not even kidding. We would have wanted to take screenshots to create a manual, because like it was real. Like what these people were saying, like it was hilarious. But I was just like, I can't believe these people are posting this online. Hell no, you're not going to be working with kids.
Right.
Where obviously these are all assumptions,
Right.
but like there's such a fine line where it's like, yes, be who you are, but at the same token, if you're posting like some very maybe extreme things on either end,
Right.
and not so much like photos of you drinking. Yes, that's like probably not professional, but I don't know, like,
It's a twofold.
right, where it's
so-
like, how do you like warn, or maybe like say, hey, like be who you are, but also like
be
you are
cognizant
presenting
of what
yourself.
you're posting. Right.
Yeah, because it's like open. I mean, obviously, like these people did not have any private protection on their Facebook. Another red flag for like, it's like, oh my gosh, the amount of things. I just like, yeah, it was all about like this woman had a son, and was like referring to her son and how she like, I can't stand one more minute with this son. I'm gonna like, anyway, a lot of weird things
Oh,
of like,
wow.
yeah, abusive. Where I was like, you just applied to be a camp counselor with kids. This doesn't compute. There's just like a lot of things where it's like we're like very weirded out and did not even call the woman based off her social media, which like maybe people are going away from, but I still think people in the workplace do that. Like the minute that I see someone's name, I look them up to get a face, to see what they're about, to see how much I can see. You know, where it's like,
Yeah.
as humans, we try to learn as much as we can, which again is assumptions, and maybe they're correct when we meet the person, and maybe they're not. But it's like,
Yeah.
how do you educate around like what's the children norm, not the children, the adult normative,
normative.
but what's the other
Youth.
opposite one?
Youth. Uh-huh.
Yeah, like how do you connect in that regard, because we're working with
Mhm.
whatever, college students, the youth mindset, but then also like, hey,
I think too, there's like the second one, the one of the competencies is to engage in personal and professional digital learning communities. And so I think it's important to maybe not scare them to the point where they feel like you're like,
right,
oh, you can't put anything out there, but also to let them know that like, yes, employers are going to look at your social media, and that like, well, you might not think that's right, that's just what's going to happen. And so,
or Google,
or Google you or whatever,
Those
like
images.
totally,
they're gonna find stuff out. So you need to be cautious and cognizant about what you're putting out there, and two, also to let them know that they're like, well, social media on that side can maybe hinder you from getting a job. It also is a super powerful way to
Endorse
connect
yourself.
and endorse yourself, to connect with different people, to learn about different companies, like LinkedIn, for example. Like, great way to like connect up with potential employers and whatnot. So, I think that's sort of the way to maybe bridge that gap, is to say like, yes, you need to be cautious with social media because of this, but also not saying like social media is all bad, because it's not, because it is a really powerful tool if you use it the right way.
I think you take that even a step further too. This is actually the source of my tech solutions paper, but it floors me that there aren't more departments out there that want to intentionally engage with individual students to try to put out X type of messaging. My paper has to do with social justice advocacy, but like, how are organizations, not just individual professionals in the field, utilizing that same sort of media to engage in similar types of conversations? And I don't know about y'all, but I just don't see a lot of offices reaching out to students to be like, hey, have you thought about, how this social justice issue impacts the way that you think about X, Y, or Z? Especially on our campus, it just doesn't happen. But on the same hand, like you were saying, Darren, what's the line there between, offering up some food for thought and some discussion in return versus, scaring them away from wanting to engage with you in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't come up with a technology yet or thought of one that's popular enough that would mitigate some of that. Because I mean, even with Facebook, people go in all sorts of different directions with Facebook.
Yeah, because I would say, what is your solution or what is your ideas?
TBD.
Okay. No, because I think that's real. Yeah, but then how do you get people to even engage in the first place?
Yeah, I think, as far as the paper is concerned, it's more of a policy change.
Okay.
But I mean, even with like Instagram or Twitter's probably actually the easiest for offices to be able to engage with that sort of content, because you got to keep it short, you got to keep it sweet.
And you share news articles?
Share news articles, share just general ideas, requesting feedback from my experiences.
But do students use Twitter? This is my question every day. Do students use Twitter for news? It's now considered a news outlet.
More than you'd think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think more students have it than
Okay.
It could just be
Because I've heard
some of
people
our
use
bubbles,
it as
but
news and
I don't
not
know.
social media. I mean, it's like obviously social media, but it's like
short and it's instantaneous.
Right.
That's why people like Twitter, because it's like they can just look at something and be like, oh, cool, news article, right there, right away. I don't have to search for it.
totally
It's that whole,
instant gratification.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Okay. I always just think of this every day. Because I'm like, do they, though? They do. But how?
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, how are they using it? Is the real question, I guess.
Maybe the author of our text will have some additional information
Right.
for us in the next couple chapters.
No, totally.
But going back to what you were saying, Darren, not only on the individual level, but an organizational or maybe even institutional level. I've never heard of an institution, period, anywhere, putting out some sort of invitation to respond to, some sort of prompt. It's always been individuals or maybe office levels. But does that help build some of that online identity or that civic engagement that we're looking for? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that's even close to that would be like an institution sending out a survey to a mass group of students, or making students do a required training or something.
On social media?
And we know how those turn out. Well, not even necessarily social media, but just through like email.
Like that
Right.
Sexual assault training that we recently did.
Mm-hmm.
Implicit sort of, this is what we believe as an organization type of things, but masked as a training.
Wait, what?
So there were certain circumstances or scenarios that you had to go through in the training. I forget the technical title of the training already, but
It's like,
Law room is what it's called. Or like is the...
yeah, it had to do with like sexual harassment, sexual violence.
Yep. We took the same thing.
Obviously there are the legal bits that were put in there, but institutions have a lot of power to be able to insert whatever sort of values it has into some of those training modules, that are branded as training, but are, again, perfect opportunities to be able to build some of that identity and values that I think undergird a lot of the citizenship pieces that this competency talks about.
True. And isn't there like didn't they used to do this in WoW, where they have this like social media, I don't remember what it was called, but where they basically, like, this dude would come up and he would like he'd pick someone in the room and then like show you all the things that he could see on screen of your social media. Anyway, when I was a student, they did this, not to scare you, but kind of, where it was like the reality of,
Oh yeah.
they showed us like photos of, anyway, it was interesting. I think it was engaging. I can't remember. But they like have, in iterations, there's like people who have capitalized on this as like a presentation for colleges,
It's cool
which makes sense.
and scary.
Right. Totally. Yeah. But unless you require training like that, like, would people do it?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, I feel like while you're going to have a lot of negative feedback from students, from staff,
To
everybody,
require something or
to,
negative?
to be required to have to do that, people are going to dig in their heels and not be very welcoming to it. I think that it's a necessary step, especially in higher education where we're at right now. I mean, even in our office, like the real hot topic in our office and in like sports and rec right now, maybe across campus, is what do we have to do to be legally safe, to protect ourselves? Like, that's the way you've got to approach this. Like, how do we keep from being sued? And requiring a training like this, I feel like that's
Are you
goes right
talking
along
the
with,
sexual assault training, or are you talking a technology one? Sorry, I'm just confused.
The sexual assault
Okay.
training.
Okay. Got it.
Is like something you have to do to be able to just protect yourself. And students aren't going to be very welcoming. They aren't going to like it, but it's necessary. And I feel like it goes back to technology because like that's the only way you're ever going to be able to require that. You can't put every new student through an in-person training to do that.
Just too many of them.
Feasibly, you probably couldn't do that, and with staff and everything as well. But technology is a great tool to be able to do that. But along in that same vein, I sometimes struggle with that too, because going back to like we used to have our student org training online, and it's hard to. We found it was hard to hold student orgs accountable to something that you really don't know how engaged they are, how much they actually are taking from that. Are they hitting play on a video and doing something else while the video is playing and not actually watching it? So, like, how much can you hold people accountable for the information that's there?
Quiz. Give them a quiz. I'm just kidding.
But also, that's really the only way you're ever going to be able to give them that information. So, I think me and Elise maybe had a conversation about that. About like, well, maybe you don't gather a ton from that, and maybe like 2 weeks after you take the training, you aren't going to remember that much. There's enough of it that sticks that it's going to help you a little bit.
I think our whole class is an online learning environment.
Welcome to our program.
I learned a lot. I think the biggest thing for me was like having assumptions what this would be like, and then it's like not like that, but it's still some like technology piece. But the distance ed experience, what we did with the org class or whatever, that assessment course, I was really apprehensive because I had taken one of those in undergrad and it was tragic. It was fine, but I was always on the receiving end, which we were a majority of the time as well, where it's like watching a screen. And and it wasn't that engaging, and so I really did not enjoy it. But it was pleasantly surprised. I mean, it still was a challenge, I think, or maybe like not ideal or what we thought we would be doing, but at least we got some real time every day or every week. I think that piece was a cool way or nice job of like integrating some technology. It's creative, and like the way that we are now here on this campus, I think itself is creative and utilizing technology.
Do you think that, using that format that we used with Jorg's assessment class, do you think that contributed at all to any sense of community that might have existed between our two cohorts?
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like super connected to them, sorry. Like, I think they're cool,
Mhm.
but I think, like, I know Mani, like, she and her group, like, they're super tight, and she, like, goes and visits them and
Mhm.
still connects with the people. And I don't know about you all, but I at least, like, know their names and have an affiliation to them, where if we didn't and we're going to graduation, I'd be like, we never would have seen them. Unless
Yeah.
for, like, I worked with one of them during a 720, but still, that's not,
I think
Right.
it's interesting, like how online learning environments can work. Like for example, I've thought multiple times like about when I had my Conduct 720, we did weekly discussions, and we did them via Skype, and it was me and Priscilla, forget me, Priscilla. Anyways, long story short, there was this someone in the online cohort, Stephanie, who was from California, and like like on a weekly basis, we'd like comment afterwards, like how energized we were by the conversations. Like they were just like great, and like I I've thought about like towards graduation, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to like actually meet Stephanie because like she was like a big part of that class and made it like really awesome. And so
Do you know those people are flying in for this graduation?
What?
Are these people flying in?
I'm thinking so.
I think the option is for online folks only. Like they have the option to come in,
Mhm.
but I can if I'm in California, I don't imagine myself
Flying, yeah.
paying money for airfare to go to
Okay, yeah.
MSP to drive down to
Lacrosse,
to
right.
So I don't know if she's coming or not, but I hope she is because I'd like to meet her.
Get Skype her in.
Totally.
But like, it's just amazing how like online learning environments like can help you get different perspectives. Like that's something that I was amazed by. Like just different perspectives, even across the U.S. Like they're facing different challenges in California, some of the same challenges, but some different challenges than what we are here.
Yeah.
And getting that perspective through this online learning environment was really, really helpful and really powerful. And then I think that that second underneath the foundational outcomes of utilizing social media and other digital communication to engage students in programs and activities. I just think of our office like we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Snapchat, like social media and technology, like as a department, is a really great way to engage with their students. And also, I think of like NYU. They were at NASPA, and like they all the way from president down, they use social media to engage with students.
That's cool.
Even the higher level administrators like use social media actively to engage with their students. So I think that's something that you don't see that often is where upper level administration use social media. But I think it's a good way to create a community with the students.
Mm-hmm.
Make your chancellor cool. It's my goal. It never works out, but it's okay. I'm over it. I just had a dream for Chance Daddy to be cool. It's okay. He will never be as cool as I want him to be. He's still cool. Just not on the social media or videos.
You're talking DVG here, right?
DVG. I wanted to create some simple videos with him to showcase like that he is funny and can be funny, and I would tell him exactly what he has to say because that's like what he requires. Yeah, he like again, and I get it. He's not someone who's gonna be in the limelight, which I know people aren't. But I just want people to like him, and I think he could be simple. Like there could be super simple things that like he could implement or have someone do, and he could be cool, and students would like actually know who he is. Not that they don't, but a lot of people don't even know what his name is. Like when we had that trivia question, who's our chancellor? Like I'm just not even kidding. Where it's like, hey, some chancellors people like, and again, it might be all, maybe that's not the best approach, but I feel like if there's a positive vibe around your chancellor, at least like people feel like someone cares about you or like your chancellor's working for you.
That's true.
No, I
It's
know my
all about
sister-
PR. I know if this is like maybe manipulative, and if it's not real, like it maybe be worse. But
I know my sister went to lacrosse. And
Everybody knows Joe.
She still talks about Joe.
Yeah.
She's like,
all right, people
like-
like him
Joe's just
Joe
as
is the best guy
problematic
in
as
the-
every other.
totally, but
chance
at least
daddy,
like
but,
people maybe think he's cool.
like,
I know.
like,
I call it Chance Daddy. I know, not to his face. Oh, yeah.
oh yeah. Yeah, everybody knows Joe.
but also I think it has to do with like how personable the upper administration is. Like for
Right.
example, my sister had some health issues that caused her so she couldn't eat in the dining hall halfway through a school year. Like she had to go gluten free. They didn't offer those options, and the dining services won't let her out of her dining contract. And so my sister went to the chancellor, and the chancellor like met with her and like helped her through the whole thing. Like
Mhm.
didn't say you're gonna meet with my administrative assistant. No, she met with the chancellor and he helped her through the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
And so like that's a
It definitely
type
helps
of
that
relationship
he's
you need to build with.
like the crunchy vegan type, but I mean that tells you something when you know your upper administration is willing to engage with you, whether that's social media or that in-person type deal. And maybe that makes it easier to use technology to be able to reach out, build that digital identity, as it were.
Or like have a team of people who is on your media and communication team run your social media. Like you don't have to do it, Chance Daddy. We're just gonna make you cool, and like post some photos of you. Like it's not that hard. It's fine. I'm over it. But Paul was really concerned that I was gonna go rogue when I like met with him. The first video I did with him, because I wanted to ask him a lot of funny questions, and it was like chats with the chancellor is what we're gonna call it. It was gonna be super cute, but I had to send him a script, and it had to be not funny. It's fine. He's just not gonna be funny. But Paul was like really concerned and told Amy like, "Hey, can you make sure like Elise?" She goes, "Elise is not." I just have passion around it because he could be cool.
That's so unfortunate because DBG's got like this David Letterman like laugh.
No, you know he could be like, I don't know, dry humor funny. I don't know. It's
No,
fine.
It's interesting on the athletic side of the house. Like I've had some really great like conversations with the chancellor and whatnot, and he's a
Mhm.
hilarious person when you get to like actually talk to him and get
Just
him
let me
loosened up
follow you with a
little bit.
video camera, dear. I'm just kidding. I know it's okay. It's okay.
Get a little sports ball going, strike up a conversation.
Well, he's a runner, so
I didn't really.
he's a runner, and so one of our videos we wanted to have him again, like he wouldn't do this, but in short shorts, running.
Mm.
Not even in short shorts, just in running clothes, and students join him, and he like was like, oh, maybe I would actually do that. Then he like said he wouldn't do that, which I get, but like that would have been cute. Like, oh my gosh, the chancellor runs, I also run. Like make him a person instead of just a chancellor, because right now he seems kind of stiff. Which again, not everyone is gonna like. I get it. He doesn't have that vibe, but there's some simple things like you run, great. Let's get video you running. You don't have to say anything. Just run by, Chancellor. Like, it's fine.
Just identify you by the mustache.
Gotta get him
Totally.
to run in the. Here's your thing because I'm not here next year, but here's an idea. Gotta get him to run in the homecoming. The
What you're talking
um,
about?
You mean the
the
River Falls days?
homecoming. No, the homecoming like late
The
night
night run?
run.
Oh, the glow run?
The
Glow
glow
run.
run.
Oh.
That'd be
Get him to
cool.
run in the glow run.
That'd be cool.
It
Yeah.
would be like the lead off, like rather than
lead-off
having
runner.
Stalker like ride his bike out in front of the thing, have the chance to lead off the charge.
He might
Ooh,
get trampled.
He'd be like holding the torch or something, like all
A
symbolic.
glow torch.
A glow. I mean, they were big enough.
True.
Holding up.
That's a good idea. We'll pitch it to him, see if he's feeling runny. Anyway,
What are we at for time?
49 minutes.
Anybody else have anything more to add for the good of the group?
Technology is changing the way we do things, and we got to stay up on it. And we are staying up on it
Yep.
every second.
Whether we like to or not.
Yep.
Mm.
All right.
Cool.
Bye.
Have a good one.